Horizon Forbidden West. If you enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn, or just love the idea of exploring a stunning post-apocalyptic world with robotic creatures, this game is everything. It takes what made the first game so special and cranks it up even further. First off, the world is absolutely breathtaking. We're talking lush forests, sweeping deserts, misty mountains, and mysterious ruins, all packed with color and life. Every time you step into a new area, it feels like you're on an epic journey, and you can just feel the love that went into designing this world. It's one of those games where you'll find yourself stopping just to admire the views. The combat is even more intense than before. You're still going up against these awesome robotic creatures, but this time there's a lot more variety in how you can approach each encounter. You can try different strategies, depending on the creature type, use traps, experiment with elemental effects, or even override certain machines to turn them into allies. It makes every fight feel unique, especially since the machines have such varied designs and behaviors. Oh, and the underwater sections? They're gorgeous, and actually add a whole new layer to the game. Now, diving into lakes and exploring submerged ruins is part of the adventure, and it's so well done. It makes the world feel even bigger and more dynamic, because you're not just stuck on land anymore. Horizon Forbidden West is a perfect mix of action, exploration, and storytelling. It's one of those games where you can spend hours just getting lost in side quests and exploring. Next we have Hogwarts Legacy. Honestly, this game is like a dream come true for anyone who's ever wanted to live out their Hogwarts fantasy. If you've grown up loving the world of Harry Potter, or just love the idea of being a wizard, this game really nails that feeling of stepping into the magical world. I mean, the second you get sorted into your house, it's like, yep, this is it. I'm at Hogwarts now. The school itself is gorgeous. They've done such an incredible job of capturing the magic and mystery of Hogwarts. You can literally spend hours just wandering around, getting lost in the hallways, finding hidden passages, and taking in all the little details. It's exactly how I imagined the castle would feel. Like every corner has a secret or a bit of history waiting to be discovered. What's cool too is how the game lets you really craft your own story. You're not just following the Harry Potter timeline, you're in a completely new time period, which is honestly refreshing. You get to create your own character, make your own choices, and carve out your own adventure. And it's not just about being a goody-two-shoes student either. You can dive into some darker magic if you want, which is something I didn't expect but absolutely love. The combat is surprisingly deep too. At first, I thought it might be kind of simple, but there's actually a lot of strategy. You can mix and match different spells, use potions, and even summon creatures to help you out. And the way the spells are animated, like the wand flicks and the flashes of magic, it's so satisfying. You really feel like a proper witch or wizard, blasting enemies or pulling off combos in combat. Next we have Lies of P. It's one of those games that takes a classic story and flips it into something totally unexpected. I mean, a dark, twisted version of Pinocchio? Who saw that coming? From the moment I started playing, I knew this wasn't going to be the fairy tale we all grew up with. Instead, it throws you into this grim, steampunk world where everything feels eerie and dangerous. The atmosphere is on point. There's this constant tension in the air, like you're never quite safe, even when you're just walking through a quiet alley. The game wears its inspirations on its sleeve, and if you've played Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you'll feel right at home here. The combat is that familiar, deliberate style, where every swing of your weapon matters, and timing is everything. But Lies of P adds its own twist, with the weapon customization system. You can mix and match blades and handles to create your own combos, which gives you a ton of freedom to experiment with different builds. It's honestly so satisfying when you find a combination that just clicks with your playstyle. The enemies are no joke. Each one feels like a real threat, and you can't just rush in and expect to button mash your way through. You've got to be patient, learn their patterns, and strike when the moment is right. And the bosses? They're some of the most intense encounters I've had in a while. Every time I thought I was getting the hang of things, a new boss would come along and completely wreck me. But in the best way. It's that feeling of frustration followed by pure joy when you finally take them down. If you're into challenging combat, Lies of P is definitely worth your time. It's one of those games that stays with you. Next we have Assassin's Creed Origins. It didn't win Game of the Year, but absolutely deserved to be in the conversation. After the series took a bit of a break, Origins came back swinging, and it basically reinvented the entire franchise. This was the game that moved Assassin's Creed from a more linear, mission-based structure to a full-blown open-world RPG. And it did it in style. First off, Ancient Egypt as a setting? Incredible. The world they built in Origins was stunning, from the sprawling deserts to the bustling cities of Alexandria and Memphis. You could just wander around for hours, exploring tombs, pyramids, and hidden secrets. The amount of detail they put into recreating Egypt was mind-blowing, and it felt like you were actually stepping into history. Plus, playing as the first assassin was a breath of fresh air. He was such a well-rounded character, with a personal story that drove the whole plot forward in a meaningful way. The combat system was also completely overhauled. Gone were the days of just counter-killing everything in sight. Origins introduced a more dynamic, skill-based combat system that required you to dodge, block, and actually strategize during fights. It felt much more engaging and challenging compared to the older games. They also introduced RPG elements like leveling up, skill trees, and loot, which added a ton of depth to the gameplay. But here's the thing. 2017 was a ridiculously stacked year for gaming. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Horizon Zero Dawn both came out that year. Next we have Denotria: The Last Song, a game that brings the soul of Italy to life with every detail, where you're not just playing a character, but exploring a world steeped in folklore, history, and vibrant culture. The combat is an absolute blast. Denotria blends fast-paced action with a bit of tactical thought. You're not just mashing buttons or hacking away mindlessly. There's a rhythm and flow to it, almost like a dance. The mechanics feel responsive and tight, rewarding both skill and timing. And each enemy encounter feels different enough to keep you on your toes. 1 minute, you're squaring off against a creature straight out of a folktale. And the next, you're strategizing how to use the environment to your advantage. The variety keeps things interesting, and it's easy to lose track of time just enjoying the rhythm of combat. There's also a big focus on discovery. Denotria isn't about rushing from one objective to the next. It's about taking the time to get lost in its world. There are secrets to find, hidden paths to explore, and layers to uncover, making you feel like every corner could hold a new surprise. It's got that adventure vibe that so many games miss, and the game rewards you for being curious, taking those detours and soaking it all in. And the story, it's got this mystical quality that pulls you in, but without overwhelming you. You're not bombarded with endless lore dumps. Instead, you gradually uncover the history, culture, and myths that shape Denotria. Next we have A Plague Tale: Requiem. It absolutely should have been in the running for Game of the Year, but didn't quite get the recognition it deserved. This sequel took everything great about A Plague Tale: Innocence and cranked it up to a whole new level. The story, the characters, the visuals, it was all so much more intense. And honestly, it hit harder than a lot of people expected. First off, the story in Requiem was a gut punch in the best way. Following Amicia and Hugo's journey through a world ravaged by the plague and the supernatural rat infestation, you could feel the stakes growing as you progressed. What really stood out was the emotional weight of the game. It wasn't just about survival. It was about family, loss, and the lengths you'd go to protect the ones you love. The character development for both Amicia and Hugo was top tier, and by the end, it was impossible not to be emotionally invested in their fate. The game also looked absolutely stunning. The environments were jaw-dropping, whether you were sneaking through crumbling ruins, lush countrysides, or the plague-infested streets. The attention to detail made the world feel alive. Well, as alive as a world overrun by millions of rats can feel. And speaking of the rats, Requiem took the swarming rat mechanic from the first game and made it even crazier. The way they used light and shadow to control and avoid the rats created some of the most tense, nail-biting moments in the game. Another thing to consider is that Requiem came out in 2022, which was a year dominated by games like Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. Next we have Nier Automata, one of those games that didn't exactly explode onto the scene when it first launched, but ended up becoming a cult classic. If you've never played it, at first glance it might seem like just another action RPG. But this game much more than that. It's one of those titles that, once you dive in, completely pulls you in with its depth themes and that emotional roller coaster of a story. But here's the thing. When it first came out, not a lot of people were talking about it. Sure, it had fans, but it didn't immediately blow up like some big AAA game. Part of that might be because the original was kind of niche and never really became a mainstream hit. So it had this uphill battle where people weren't sure if it was worth checking out. The game is weird. And I say that in the best possible way. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't give you a typical RPG experience, and the story can get really out there. You've got androids questioning the meaning of life, robots acting like humans, existential dread, and more than a few mind-bending plot twists. For some players, it was a little too philosophical. It's not afraid to get deep and ask big questions. And that can be off-putting if you're just looking for a straightforward action game. Then there's the whole multiple endings thing. It doesn't just have a single ending, it has like 26 of them. Now, most of those are joke endings, but to get the full story, you actually have to play through the game multiple times, seeing it from different perspectives. Some people love that. It's one of the game's strengths, but others didn't really want to replay the same sections to uncover the whole narrative. It was divisive, to say the least. Next we have Saints Row. This isn't the kind of experience where you sit back and take things too seriously. No, this is all about diving headfirst into a chaotic playground where the rules are made to be broken, bent, or outright ignored. The first thing you'll notice is how much freedom you have. It's not just a game about completing missions. It's about how you do it. Do you go in with an arsenal of creative tools, causing as much mayhem as possible? Or do you try something completely off the wall just because you can? The game doesn't judge. It celebrates whatever ridiculous choices you make, and that's the beauty of it. Customization in Saints Row is a joy in itself. Whether it's your character, your vehicles, or even your weaponry, the game gives you the tools to express yourself in the most outrageous ways possible. Want to rock a look that screams chaos? Go for it. Need a ride that looks like it belongs in another dimension? You can do that too. The sky's the limit. And the game encourages you to embrace your wildest ideas. The gameplay is all about variety. One moment you're in a high-speed chase that feels like an action movie on steroids, and the next you're doing something so over the top that you'll have to pause just to laugh at the sheer absurdity. And the missions, they don't hold back. Each one feels like a new, overblown adventure designed to surprise you at every turn. Combat is where the game flexes its creativity. Sure, you've got your standard tools of destruction, but then there's everything else. It's not about what you use. It's about how much fun you have using it. Next we have Helldivers 2. Now, this game is a follow-up to the original Helldivers, which had a strong cult following. It's all about cooperative, top-down, tactical shooting, but with a pretty unique twist. It's brutally difficult. However, Helldivers 2 has gotten some hate for being too punishing, or for having gameplay mechanics that can feel overwhelming, especially for new players. One of the biggest complaints is how unforgiving it can be. Friendly fire is always on, which means you can accidentally or not so accidentally kill your teammates during missions. And believe me, this happens a lot. It's a game that forces you to be super careful, and not everyone is down for that level of intensity. The steep learning curve and lack of hand-holding also rubbed some players the wrong way, especially those who were expecting something more casual. Another thing that got some pushback was the game's structure. Missions can feel repetitive after a while, and if you're playing solo, the game is an entirely different experience, and not always in a good way. It's built around cooperative play, so going in alone can make it feel more frustrating than fun. But here's the thing. If you're into tactical shooters and have a squad to play with, Helldivers 2 is an absolute blast. The chaos that comes from trying to coordinate with your teammates while dodging enemy fire and calling in reinforcements makes for some seriously intense moments. The variety of weapons, gear, and strategies you can use makes each mission feel dynamic, and the constant threat of messing up keeps the tension high. Sure, it's tough, but that's also what makes it so satisfying. Next we have Ghostrunner. If you haven't played it yet, imagine a cyberpunk world, neon lights everywhere, and you're a futuristic ninja with a katana. Right off the bat, Ghostrunner hits you with its fast-paced, wall-running, and insane parkour. It's one of those games where you can't help but feel like a total badass, but it also humbles you real quick. One wrong move, and bam, you're dead. But here's the thing, the respawn is immediate, so you're right back at it, trying to perfect your next run. It's super rewarding when you get into that flow state. You'll be slicing through enemies, running on walls, and dodging bullets like a pro, all in one smooth motion. The game is so fluid, and the controls feel tight, which is crucial for a game like this. The setting is equally awesome. It's this gritty, dystopian, cyberpunk city, and the visuals are just eye candy. I couldn't help but get drawn into the atmosphere, the neon, the rain-soaked streets, the towering skyscrapers. It feels like you're in the middle of a futuristic action movie, but you're the star doing all these crazy stunts. One thing I have to mention is the soundtrack. Oh, man. The music is fire, just pure synthwave goodness that pumps you up during every intense sequence. It complements the gameplay so well, and there were moments where I caught myself bobbing my head while dodging bullets. Sure, the game's difficulty can be brutal at times, but that's kind of the point. When you finally nail a level that's been giving you trouble, it's this amazing sense of accomplishment. If you're into fast-paced action, and you're not afraid of a bit of trial and error, this one's a must-play. Next we have Doom Eternal, a game that's just pure adrenaline. From the moment you start, it's like the game grabs you by the collar and throws you into this insane, demon-filled chaos. The pacing is so fast and relentless, it makes you feel like this unstoppable force. You're not just playing as the Doomslayer, you are the Doomslayer, and it's awesome. One thing I love about Doom Eternal is how it forces you to play aggressively. You can't just hide behind cover and pick off enemies from a distance like in other shooters. No way. You have to get in their faces, constantly moving, switching weapons, and using your chainsaw to keep your ammo up. It's this perfect mix of strategy and brutality. There's no time to breathe. And honestly, that's what makes it so much fun. Every fight feels like a frantic dance of destruction, and once you get the rhythm down, it's such a rush. The combat loop is where it really shines. You're always juggling resources, health, armor, ammo, and you get those by fighting. Need health? Glory kill a demon. Low on armor? Set enemies on fire with the flame belch. It's a constant back and forth, and it makes every encounter feel dynamic. You never just shoot your way through a room, you're managing the chaos, and that's what makes it so addicting. And the weapons, man, each one feels so satisfying. The shotgun, the plasma rifle, the BFG, it's all there, and it's all beefed up to feel more powerful than ever. Doom Eternal is an absolute must-play. It's intense, it's challenging, and it's just pure, unfiltered fun. Next we have Detroit Become Human. It's one of those games where you're not just watching a story play out, you're actually shaping it. Your choices matter, and I mean really matter. The choices aren't always easy either. Sometimes you're like, what's the right choice here? And there's no clear answer. It's all about what you value, and that affects the relationships you build and the path you take. There's this branching storyline, so the game reacts to your choices in a way that feels organic. Each playthrough can be so different, and it's wild seeing how even small decisions can snowball into something huge later on. You play as 3 different androids, each with their own story, and the game does an amazing job of making you care about each one. You feel invested in their struggles, their choices, and what they want for their lives. The best part for me was the emotional weight. The game digs into some pretty deep themes: freedom, empathy, what it means to be human. And because it's so interactive, it really makes you think about what you do in these situations. By the end, you're not just playing a game, you're reflecting on your own beliefs and choices, which is pretty rare for a video game. And Detroit doesn't shy away from tension either. There are moments where you're genuinely on the edge of your seat, trying to make quick decisions that could totally change everything. And the stakes are high because, things can go wrong in big ways if you make a wrong call. So, yeah, Detroit Become Human is perfect if you're into games that let you dig into a story deeply, and that give you control over what happens. It's genuinely unforgettable. Next we have Far Cry 4. It's one of those games that really sticks with you. Right from the start, you're thrown into this beautiful yet chaotic Himalayan country called Kyrat, and boom, there's Pagan Min, the villain you'll love to hate. He's charming in the most unsettling way, and I just couldn't get enough of his weird charisma. Honestly, he steals the show every time he's on screen. But beyond the story, what really drew me in was Kyrat itself. The world is just stunning. You've got these towering mountains, lush valleys, rivers, and temples scattered everywhere. I found myself getting lost in the world, not just doing missions, but just exploring, climbing cliffs, gliding off with a wingsuit, or hunting animals to upgrade my gear. It's one of those open-world games where every corner has something to discover, and it just makes the world feel alive. Now, the gameplay is so fun. You can tackle situations however you want, and for me, that meant switching between stealthy bow kills and, riding elephants into enemy outposts like a madman. Seriously, who doesn't love charging through a camp on an elephant? And the wildlife itself adds a whole other level of unpredictability. I've lost count of how many times I was sneaking up on an enemy, only for a tiger or bear to crash the party and wreak havoc. The missions are great too, especially the ones involving the Golden Path. You get to make decisions that affect the revolution you're part of, and they're not always black and white. I liked that it made you think about the consequences. All in all, Far Cry 4 is just packed with stuff to do. It's got this mix of intense action and moments of absolute chaos. Next we have Forza Horizon 5. Even if you're not a racing game person, trust me, you'll still find something to love here. It's like a love letter to cars, exploration, and just having a good time behind the wheel. Remember when you used to race toy cars around your living room, making up little adventures as you went? Forza Horizon 5 brings that same energy, but cranks it up to 11. It's not just about winning races, though that's fun too. It's about playing. The freedom you have to do whatever you want is amazing. They've got everything from souped-up classics to hypercars that look like they belong in a sci-fi movie. And the customization. You can tweak everything. Paint jobs, performance, even little decals. It's like a car nerd's dream come true. But don't worry, you don't have to be a gearhead to enjoy it. The game does a great job of keeping things accessible, whether you're a casual player or a hardcore racer. The controls are just buttery smooth, and the way each car handles feels unique. Want to go off-roading in a big, beefy truck? Go for it. Prefer zipping through city streets in a sleek sports car? Done. It's not just racing, it's an experience. And the best part? You don't even have to race if you don't want to. There are stunt challenges, speed traps, exploration events. It's like a big automotive playground. And the seasonal changes? Genius. The world evolves over time. So one week you might be racing in dry deserts, and the next you're dealing with torrential rain. It keeps things fresh and gives you an excuse to keep coming back. Next we have Mad Max. So I recently had the chance to spend some time with Mad Max, and let me tell you, it's an experience that truly stands out. The game captures the raw, gritty essence of the Mad Max universe so well that it feels like you're right in the heart of that post-apocalyptic wasteland. One of the first things that hit me was the attention to detail in the environment. The desolate landscapes and towering sandstorms are crafted with such precision that they almost feel alive. It's like every corner of the world has a story to tell, and exploring it becomes an adventure in itself. Upgrading and customizing your car, the magnum opus, is an absolute blast. There's something incredibly satisfying about tearing through enemies with a fully upgraded, heavily armed vehicle. And the thrill of high-speed chases and explosive battles really keeps you on the edge of your seat. The narrative is another strong point. Max's journey, filled with intense personal struggles and high-stakes encounters, is engaging from start to finish. It's not just about surviving, it's about finding purpose in a world that's gone mad. The characters you meet along the way, each with their own quirks and backstories, add depth to the story. What's more, the game does a great job of balancing action with exploration. There's always something to discover, whether it's hidden loot, side quests, or just interesting details in the environment. It encourages you to take your time and really soak in the world around you. The combat mechanics are solid. Next, we have Nightingale. Without giving too much away, Nightingale is set in an alternate Victorian-inspired universe where portals connect you to countless magical realms. These aren't just ordinary portals either. Each one opens up a unique, handcrafted world full of surprises. Whether it's dense forests, eerie swamps, or towering mountains, every realm feels like a whole new adventure waiting to happen. At its heart, Nightingale is a survival game. But it's so much more than that. Sure, you'll be gathering resources, crafting tools, and building shelters, but it never feels repetitive or grindy. The game constantly rewards your curiosity. Wander off the beaten path, and you might stumble upon a hidden ruin, a bizarre creature, or a resource you didn't even know existed. You'll face all kinds of strange and otherworldly beings, from towering giants to mischievous fairies. Each encounter feels unique, and sometimes running is just as valid an option as fighting. There's this constant sense of tension and wonder as you explore, never quite knowing what's around the next corner. One of the coolest aspects of the game is the crafting system. It's deep, but not overwhelming, which is a hard balance to strike. You can craft everything from tools and weapons to elaborate structures. And let me tell you, building in this game is a treat. The structures you can create aren't just functional, they're gorgeous. Whether you're putting together a humble cabin or a sprawling Victorian estate, it always feels satisfying and personal. Next, we have Remnant II. If you've ever thought, I want Dark Souls but with guns, this is literally the game for you. The best part is how they mix that tough, Souls-like gameplay with co-op. Like, you're dodging and weaving through boss fights with your friends. What I didn't expect was how varied the worlds are this time around. You're not just in some post-apocalyptic setting. You're hopping between dimensions, and each one feels so distinct. One second, you're in this creepy, gothic forest, and the next, you're in this futuristic sci-fi city battling weird robotic enemies. The variety keeps things feeling fresh. Like you're never sure what the game's gonna throw at you next. Speaking of enemies, oh man, they do not mess around in this game. Every time you enter a new area, you get this uneasy feeling like, okay, what's gonna try to kill me here? And the bosses? Don't even get me started. They're so creative and challenging. It's like a new puzzle every time you face one. You're constantly trying to figure out the patterns, the weak spots, and how to stay alive. It's tough, but in a way that makes you want to keep trying. You know that feeling when a boss wipes the floor with you for the 10th time, but you finally crack it, and you just feel like a god? That's what Remnant II is all about. I think what really hooked me, though, is the way the game encourages you to try different builds. You've got these archetypes, right? And each one changes how you approach combat. Like, do you want to be the tanky guy, soaking up hits, or the guy running around sniping from the back? You can switch it up mid-game too, which is great because it means you're not stuck in one playstyle. Next we have Rise of the Ronin. If you've ever wanted to step into the shoes of a samurai in a world at the crossroads of history, then this game is going to blow your mind. Right away, you're thrown into 19th century Japan, an era filled with massive change, where tradition and modernization are colliding. It's like being part of a living, breathing history lesson, only with swords, epic battles, and this incredible atmosphere that just pulls you in. The combat is where it truly shines. It's got that classic samurai swordplay feel. But there's a modern twist too. It's all about timing, precision, and making every strike count. When you're in the heat of battle, you feel this rush of intensity. But what's even cooler is that you also have firearms at your disposal, which brings this unique balance between traditional and new. So you're not just relying on your katana. You're adapting and making use of everything around you. Plus, if you're into exploration, there's so much to find. There are side quests and hidden details that flesh out the world, rewarding you for going off the main path and just taking your time. It's the kind of game that encourages you to slow down, appreciate the world, and really immerse yourself in the experience. Beyond the battles, Rise gives you these powerful story moments that make you feel connected to the people and the history of the era. You're not just a fighter, you're a part of the world's story, shaping events as they unfold. The choices you make feel impactful, and there's this sense of weight to each decision, almost like you're carrying the spirit of the era with you. Next we have Shadow of the Colossus. It's like one of those rare experiences that just sticks with you long after you're done playing. The whole concept is so simple, but so powerful. You're just this guy trying to save someone you love. And the only way to do it is by taking down these massive colossi. There's no filler, no random enemies, no side quest. It's just you, your horse, and these gigantic creatures scattered across this lonely, mysterious land. And honestly, that simplicity is what makes it so impactful. Every fight feels epic, and the quiet moments between each battle just hit different. The colossi themselves are incredible. Each one feels like a puzzle in its own right. It's not just about slashing away at some big monster. You've got to figure out how to climb them, where their weak points are, and how to use the environment to your advantage. I remember the first time I saw one of those things. It's just so big. You feel so small and insignificant. And then when you finally manage to climb up and take it down, it's such an intense feeling. But at the same time, there's this weird sadness that comes with it, like you're not sure if what you're doing is really the right thing. I also love how the story is told in such a subtle way. There's not a lot of dialogue or cutscenes, but the emotions are all there. You can just feel Wander's desperation and determination, even though he barely says a word. And as the game progresses, you start to notice the toll that killing these colossi is taking on him. It's not just a straightforward hero's journey. There's a price to pay, and that becomes more and more clear as you go. Next we have Rise of the Tomb Raider. This game really took me by surprise in the best way possible. I mean, I knew going in it was going to be a solid game, but it actually exceeded my expectations on so many levels. First off, the environments are stunning. Every single location feels meticulously crafted, from the frozen Siberian mountains to the hidden tombs. You really feel like you're on this epic adventure with Lara. I found myself just stopping to take in the views at times, which isn't something I do often in action games. And speaking of action, the combat and stealth mechanics are incredibly satisfying. You get this perfect blend of intense firefights, sneaky takedowns, and crafting that just keeps you engaged throughout. There's this real sense of progression, too. By the end of the game, I felt like Lara had grown so much, not just as a character, but in terms of abilities. You can craft your own explosives, improve your gear, and upgrade your skills, so it feels like you're always evolving. The game nails that feeling of being alone in the wilderness. There were plenty of moments where I felt like Lara was up against impossible odds, but her resilience kept pushing her forward. There's something really inspiring about that. It's like you're constantly in survival mode, scavenging for resources, battling enemies, and fighting the elements. I have to say, the tombs themselves are a standout. They're optional, but trust me, they're worth exploring. Some of the puzzles had me scratching my head for a while, but that moment of solving them is so satisfying.